Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys about the 3 exercises that all, and I mean all of my clients do. In fact, when I said that in a video the other day, someone said, even your novice lifters? And I'm like, I said all of my clients. And those 3 lifts are not the squat, bench, and deadlift. They're variations, but they're not the squat, bench, and deadlift. But I literally have all of my clients do sumo deadlifts, box squats, and good mornings. Like, those are not optional lifts. Those are part of all of my clients' base building. And I don't care whether they're novice, intermediate, or advanced. And I've got reasons for doing that. It has to do with the way that these things carry over and the way that they build support musculature. Like, these exercises are really, I consider them at this point in the game, at least in my own training for that, for clients and for anyone who just needs to be strong and athletic and fit, I consider them to be mandatory. And it has to do with the way that they build, again, support musculature, mobility, and explosiveness. These are 3 lifts that I just don't think should be optional at this point. And people say, well, I don't need those to get big. Well, if your only goal is to get big, why are you on a fitness and strength channel? You clearly don't want to be healthy or fit or athletic, right? You don't want to be injury-free the rest of your life. Well, if you don't care about those things, then no one cares, man. Just blast a bunch of gear and pump away. We've got a bunch of machines and just do as much gear as you can afford. Hey, your problem solved. But for people who care about their long-term health and fitness, these are good exercises. These are things you should be doing. So why the box squat? Well, because the box squat is, if you can get people learned, I always say the box squat is easy to learn, but let me state it this way. The box squat is easy to teach in person. Virtually coaching someone to box squat could take 1 session or it could take 5 months. Especially young men, really young men. It's hard to teach them to box squat long distance because they have egos. But in person, you can teach someone to box squat in 1 session. And you can usually have them going pretty deep within 1 session. Like, the box squat in person is a fantastic tool. And the beauty of it, look at these mats that I have here on these lifts. If you start with someone who has a mobility issue, mats like this make a difference. People use plates in the gym who don't have boxes. I have some of my clients with home gyms buy a stack of mats like this. You guys have seen these mats support over 700 pounds of weight in my videos. Right? You can adjust the height. We can get all these benefits of the box squat, which when done correctly, especially onto these mats, if you do it correctly, it's actually very easy on your low back. An incorrectly performed box squat is a low back risk. Okay, and that's why a lot of trainers and coaches are scared of them, because people don't do them right. But a correctly performed box squat is very easy on your low back. Okay? It's the easiest form of squat on your knees. There is no form of squat that's easier on your knees, and it has the highest rate of force production, right? If you do them correctly. So because of these things, we can do everything that we need. Plus, range of motion will always be constant. It's easy to track. It's easy to progress on. Right? It's a phenomenal exercise. And it trains you to sumo deadlift. Box squat strength carries over directly to the sumo deadlift. If your box squat strength goes up and you haven't even touched a sumo, your sumo max will go up. So it trains them. And it's just an athletic way to squat because of the rate of force production and the ability to get those feet out wider. It will help you better with things like unilateral balance and compensatory strength. Right? Then we come over to the sumo deadlift. What's going on there? Same thing. That wider stance will help you be more athletic. Help you be more athletic. Now, when you say that, some people say, "What do you mean? When you hit any playing field, you're squared up with shoulder width." No, not always. Especially if you need to do any side movement. And what do we know? When you train wide on stances, you still get strong and close. In other words, you cannot do a single narrow stance squat and do nothing but wide stance squatting and put 50 pounds on your max and then test your narrow stance and it will have gone up. It doesn't always work the other direction. We get better mobility training, right? Better training to get around compensatory strength, things like that, by doing wider. Okay? And a lot of times when you learn to do it correctly, we can move more total weight. It has to do with, again, bar pass versus the way everything is spaced mid-foot. Wider stance squat, even on the box, allows you to keep your torso more upright, less shear stress on the lumbar. Same thing we get over the sumo deadlift. The sumo deadlift puts the least stress on the low back of any deadlift if you perform it correctly. Now, first thing you got to do is teach people to not turn it into a Romanian deadlift. They want to stiff leg it because they want to stick their butt way back behind them. Well, that's not how you perform a sumo. Done correctly, the sumo deadlift has the lowest shear stress on the low back of any deadlift variation, and that includes even the trap bar. I have a trap bar, but I'm not that big of a fan. I think they're okay. I think they carry their own set of risks. And mainly that lack of terminal range of motion at the top. Okay, I think that makes it a slightly accident prone. Sumo deadlift, though, puts less shear on the low back. Less shear. Now, people say, well, it's not that much difference. Well, not that much difference can add up in the grand scheme of things. Not that much difference is still a little bit of difference. Even though some people will argue, rightly, that it's very little, we're still dealing with the most fragile area of the body in which training volumes can limit work capacity. They can limit workload. And I know some people have said, well, the guys at Barbell Medicine have said that it's a minor difference. Yeah, those are the same guys who claim that overuse is the number one cause of injuries. That's the biggest factor. Well, let's come back over to the point. Overuse is the biggest cause of injuries, it's the biggest factor. Then picking the deadlift variation that puts the least shear on the low back is real beneficial. So these are not optional exercises. My lifters all do these. What about the good morning? What the good morning does. Every reason that a person would do the deadlift, other than the grip end of it, like if you think about a conventional deadlift, look at the muscles work. Why do we do a conventional deadlift? Isn't all of that worked on a good morning? Other than the grip and the forearms and maybe the biceps? That's going to upset people, the idea that there's some bicep activation on the deadlift. Well, you lose all the arm activation and the grip work. Good mornings give you everything else that you'd want from it, with a much, much lighter weight, therefore less axial loading, but the muscle activation is very similar. And your erectors, your glutes, hamstrings, calves, look at all that. That all works. This is a phenomenal posterior chain exercise that will work your entire posterior chain and all of your erectors with a relatively light weight. Okay. It's an exercise easily lends itself to very, very high reps. What's one of the problems a lot of people have? And it affects their work capacity. Low work capacity for their erectors, for their low back. Not enough capillary beds, not a good ability to clear waste products that recover slowly. Right? This is an exercise where you can do a lot of reps for the low back while still working your entire posterior chain. Okay? It's a great exercise, and it's very customizable. Right? We can use different stances and bars and everything else to emphasize different things. Now, in my case, I like the really wide stance, and we only go down till as far as the hamstring stretch. Now, if you were to go with a real narrow stance and bend over further, again, you'd have to use a lighter weight, it would be a better back-specific focus. But it wouldn't give you necessarily all the hip and hamstring and glute as much as you get doing this version. This is what I consider to be a more balanced version. Right? More balanced version. If you wanted to be more back-specific, you'd do the other one. But this gives a good balance. And people who do it this way always report, I don't feel anything negative in my low back. Right? It just works it effectively. It doesn't hammer it. Right, good mornings. This is my other mainstay. I have all of my clients do high rep good morning, especially early on. Especially early on, we do a lot of sets of 10. In some cases, guys do sets of 20 who have a history of low back issues. Everybody does this. So these are kind of my big three for my coaching clients. All of my clients do these three exercises no matter what their goals are. Because even if you had an upper body specific life goals, I'm still going to make them do these three. Because we build your hips, we build all your hips up, we build your glutes, we build your low back, we build explosiveness. Okay? We build stability and explosiveness using these. Even if your goal is to be an upper body based athlete, being explosive carries over to your upper body. So these are three exercises which I have everybody do, and that's why. These are the staples. This is the basis of your training, even if we have someone whose focus is more heavily focused towards their upper body. We just may not do anything else for their lower body besides these three. But these are mandatory. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.